Damir Barnes' first watch as third officer aboard the tanker Joshua Slocum was one he would never forget. At 2300 hours, radar detected a target dead ahead. It was large, not making way, and right on the track dictated by the passage plan. The chart showed nothing in that position. At 2306, Damir confirmed that the radar target was an oil rig. He looked for the master's night orders, but couldn't find them. To avoid the rig, he deviated from the passage plan by altering course to starboard. At 2309, he spotted a second rig. This one was further ahead and inshore of the first. But Damir was confident that the Joshua Slocum would be able to pass between them comfortably. But then the lookout spotted something else. The navigation lights of another vessel. They'd been lost among the second rig's working lights. The two vessels were in a crossing situation. Damir knew he must give way because the other vessel was on his starboard side. He also knew that the customary response was to turn to starboard. But if he did that, he would then have to leave the second rig to port as well. Was there enough depth to do that? A quick decision was needed. Unfortunately, Damir took the wrong one. He turned to port. It was 2310. Fully laden, the Joshua Slocum turned much more slowly than his last ship. At 2313, the ships were only cables apart.
Captain, coming on the bridge, quickly.
The master was only halfway to the bridge when the vessels collided. But he couldn't get another job at sea, and he was ridden with guilt. If only he'd called the master when he spotted the first rig. If only he'd slowed down. If only he'd studied the chart more carefully, because in fact there was plenty of water further inshore. But while Damir held himself responsible for the collision, his error was not the only one. Damir had joined the Joshua Slocum shortly before it sailed. The master was swamped by people and paperwork. Cargo matters were keeping the chief officer busy.
I would like the people to stay clear of this hose until he's heaving up it.
The second officer was immersed in the passage plan. All three would unwittingly contribute to the collision, as would the ship owner's office staff. It was pressure from the office to save time that led the master to take a calculated risk.
But we will arrive too late, so we will have to cut some corners. We have to go a little bit faster.
Only what we can do is...
Cutting a corner would mean entering an exclusion zone, a future oil field. But there was nothing on the chart to suggest that exploration had started.
Last time I passed, there was nothing there, so we can easily go there, no problem.
Yeah, then. Okay, Captain, then from here.
The second officer was uneasy about this, but didn't question the master's decision. The chief officer had been on duty for 36 hours, but still found 5 minutes to meet the new man. He was impressed. But 5 minutes more would have revealed that the young man's book learning wasn't matched by experience.
I've come to investigate the accident which happened.
Nobody enjoys investigations.
Did he wear a safety harness?
I said to him, always must be used, but they don't. This time they don't. Sometimes they do, but this time.
Are all the crew members being made
Often,
aware?
the investigators seem content to identify and blame the person most obviously responsible.
Yes, without belt.
The root causes remain hidden. Let's review the Joshua Slocum's collision in the light of these lessons. The UK Club finds that 90% of collision incidents are a result of human error. Where did things go wrong in this case? There were error-enforcing conditions, incompatible goals, and a failure of organisation. Damir was right. Slowing down and calling a more experienced officer for help might have prevented disaster. That's what the night orders would have told him to do. They were in their usual place, but Damir had missed them. He'd had barely an hour to familiarise himself with the ship. That's about par for the course, according to UK Club statistics. Is it really enough? Damir's inexperience and lack of familiarisation are error-enforcing conditions. So are the excessive workload and fatigue, which prevented the chief officer giving the new arrival the attention he warranted. Fatigue causes countless incidents. It's a problem that won't go away unless manning levels are geared to operational needs, not regulations or tonnage. A sea of forms, lists, reports and emails threatens to drown the industry. But no piece of paper is as important as the charts and navigational publications. All too often, the UK Club's inspectors find they're uncorrected or out of date. That's a failure of organisation. Had they been routinely updated, the Joshua Slocum's officers would have seen that the oil field was now active. At the core of this case is a latent failure in the category incompatible goals.
Captain, coming on the bridge quickly.
Masters must never allow commercial pressures to push them into taking so-called calculated risks. Ship owners' shore staff must appreciate that good seamanship is always good business.